So Jahangir, first and foremost, huge congratulations. You've competed, and I can say that because I've seen the work, and I've also seen some of the other samples. I mean, and I also implore you, whenever you have time, do come to office and see the work, because it is interesting how India has made this leap.
Transformation.
And a lot of very interesting things which are happening with binding techniques, post-press embellishments, etc. So that is something. What I want to know from you is that for in a way, can I call you a boutique press?
You could,
Yeah, so like a boutique press, A, being able to do this kind of work and the fastidiousness which you pour into it, the mental energy. So if you can just share with us what the method of madness is in Prodon, because there is a kind of streak of madness which also is endearing at times but can be exasperating. So what is this method?
Ramu, basically, it's extremely important to follow best industry standards at all times, not only when it's convenient to follow or when you have time. So we've always tried to imbibe best practices. We can learn from someone, we keep learning. We're fortunate enough also sometimes to have clients who give us extremely well processed jobs, clients who want the best, like for art catalogs, where the margin of error is extremely thin or next to nothing, So every time you've got to be sort of spot on. So I guess that only comes if you're following best practices and you're managing to replicate the systems every single time. Yeah, you know.
No, that's true. But I also know that you are, you've been also, I mean, because what best industry practices or what it means for a whole lot of other organization is not necessarily true of Prodon. And you have your own set of very unique best practices in terms of just say the kind of paper grades you're working on, what you're doing with them.
Correct.
Then again, the way you are profiling the machines is very different from others. I've also heard instances, and I mean this as a compliment and not
Yeah.
sort of, where I've heard A-lister artists who are probably global superstars
Yeah.
telling that Jahangir to mera gando manas che, maro job reject kari nakhyo ene, that kind of thing. And these are, I
Yeah.
mean, people in front of whom people like us dare not even open our mouth.
Yeah.
But you have done that. So if you can again give us a glimpse, what is this sort of method in your process that you're following? And obviously it's
Yeah.
working because the work is extraordinary.
No, as I said, Ramu, we've been lucky to get jobs from good clients, clients who have stood by us. Okay, let's not forget that. It's like an actor getting a good movie or dancing next to a good heroine.
Sure.
So there are a lot of things that you've got to hold on to also. Yeah. It's not that you never want to, if you've got a good client or you get a chance to do a good job, you have to be able to do the best you can. Very often those expectations generally have to be better than what the client wants. Today clients go try a job somewhere else and say, I was missing this for so much time. So you can't, you have to keep pushing yourself. If you know better, you should do better.
Sure.
At that point in time, you do your best, what you know. Then obviously, as you gain knowledge or you think you do things in a different way, that's fine.
Yeah.
But,
I also want to ask you because I mean, the industry is growing as you're aware. Some of your friends in BMP, STB, etc. You can see by multifold.
yeah,
But somewhere, what I'm finding is, of course, you're seeing standards, you're seeing templates in place, etc. So many things that are happening, but the industry is losing characters. One, of course, is your dad, and we'll come to that later. But you are one of those rare characters left in the industry. And if somebody has asked me about Prodon, I always say that it's one of those industries where art matters more than science. I mean, science is
yeah,
important, but that art part
yeah,
of it. So again, when you're selecting jobs, because again, I know you're fussy, and we had that conversation the other day, about how you have some expectations from a customer, even as something as tiny as getting a job quotation, and you were very
correct.
clear about certain.
Yeah.
How are you managing all this? Because it is in a way a one-man show, and how is it all trickling this whole process of?
It's actually, Ramo, it's been very difficult because I have not been able to manage my time that well, you know. In fact, even last year I didn't send the entries because I was actually quite scattered. Because today the sort of jobs are extremely small, the volumes have risen. So there is a bit of a transition. I mean, these awards are for the offset jobs.
Also.
Yeah, mostly for fine art. So they're far more simpler. They don't take so much time. once you've planned, once you've done a little bit of proofing,
Sure.
I would say they're pretty bread and butter.
You mentioned that the awards are for all. I must correct you there. What we were doing was a pie chart, and you're one of the few pure offset printers who's won an award. Otherwise, it's hybrid. I mean, you have
Hybrid,
a bit
yeah.
of digital, a bit of
Yeah.
exo, a bit of digital, bit
Yeah.
of offset,
Yeah.
screen print, lot of screen printing,
Yeah.
etc. So you are in that sense one of the purists.
Yeah.
You haven't
Actually, we've done quite a few digital and screen print jobs.
Okay.
But to be honest, I can't even find the samples. And we've done some, no, honestly, we've done some really good jobs with 2-3 good designers.
Right.
I'm not saying they would be award winning, but they would surely knock on the door.
Correct. Correct.
So maybe next year, I mean, and this category is only going to grow.
Of course, yeah.
It's going to grow. And it's also very challenging. It's very fulfilling doing those sort of jobs.
Yeah.
We're recently doing something for someone for the government of India, some coins through a designer.
Sure.
Very challenging. A lot of system work.
Yeah. Also, I've heard that you are one of the few people who rejects a job before the customer rejects the job, because you're not. It's not.
No. That's not entirely true.
Right.
See, sometimes the cost of rejection, you have to also see the madness rather than just saying no.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is a gray area. It's not, sometimes you do know you're a little below par, or you could have, and you sometimes also know that the processes and the circumstances of that. So it's very difficult to just say that, no, I'm not happy.
Yep.
And, if it's blatant and you feel that it could be better, so I don't think the clients are that stupid that if they've been working with you for a while, they sort of know what is possible. As we grow, they grow. So it's not. You
keep saying that you want to make the job better. If you can just share one small example of a project that came to you where you saw the print potential in it, and how did you maximize that?
Nothing.
Some small project,
readily comes to mind.
I remember I saw your Dodia work, Atul Dodia. That was quite nice. I think you did it for Shimold, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Not sure. I can't.
Yeah.
But generally, see, the standard is always set.
Yeah.
Right now, we are doing a very interesting job for an art catalog only, which has got a toy sort of stuck on.
Nice.
So there's a lot of proofing and lot of dummy making, front and back, and it's an integral part of the process, to set the benchmark with the client. What can possibly go wrong? You actually got to be a pessimist when you start looking at the job, that this will go wrong. If this happens, do have a second chance. But nothing readily comes to mind right now.
Sure. Before I let you go, just a couple of questions. One, of course, is about a man I think both of us admire, Don Surti. And my memory of him is that terrace and the race course.
Yeah.
You were just sharing with us, prior to this, the three things that define him in a way. So, if you can share.
Actually,
I think it's
character
which I'm missing in our industry.
Actually, I'm quite fortunate enough to be passionate also, because I'm second generation.
That's true.
So we've got things much easier than many people sitting there in their room.
That's true.
Who had to struggle firsthand. So the passion has been I'm allowed to sort of, it's not in the genes. I can afford sometimes, it may not make best business sense, but I can afford sometimes to say, okay, we'll make a little less, we can do this a little more, use a little more wastage.
Sure.
So I'm fortunate enough for that. I have a wife also who's supportive. I mean, she's also a top professional. So it's not that I'm entirely.
But Don Surti, before you.
Yeah.
You said the three things which I think are fascinating.
So he got the machine at the correct time. We were one of the last people to get this machine. The Mitsubishi.
With the quota.
Yeah, we got it just before the financial meltdown of 2008. The yen was locked at 33 or 36.
Correct.
It went up to 72. Our machine came just in the nick of time. And so all his steps are very prudent, cautious, very reasonably debt-free. That's a big thing in today's line. So sometimes when you don't have so much work also, you're not really pressed. Others, all that, sometimes when you've got the economic sort of things on your head, you can't really look at everything. When you've got a sword hanging down your neck, and today whatever the commercial jobs for the smaller printers, is getting more and more difficult. Margins are shrinking, quantities are shrinking. There's only so much you can charge for an extremely small job, and there's only so much you can charge for service.
Right. But you are known to be a premium, exclusive kind of a brand which you've created. And, people do respect that, right? And it's like what now, almost 15 to 20 years of legacy that you've built over a period of time.
Yeah.
So there must be some encashment of that brand, right?
Every time giving that much in the job, yeah, you're as good as your last job.
That's true.
A new client or any client thinks their job is the most important. Yeah.
Yeah. True.
Today, if you're a punter at the races and you play 100 rupees and someone plays 1 lakh, it's as important to both. That person losing 100 it's the same for someone losing a lakh of rupees. Or
Got it.
so there's a lot of time, lot of getting back to clients. The profile of clients sometimes changes. Today, you may have more clients giving you smaller number of jobs. You know, since the digital footprint is become that much more.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so it's.
Speaking of punters and this thing, is that story true? I mean, this is something I've heard about, that red flag and the machine. Is that
Yeah.
a true story? If you could,
It's
because I
true.
think it's a great
It's
story.
true.
Yeah.
My dad was getting one of the letterpress machines up years back. So he had told the person or the printer there, when the machine comes into the gala
At Adhyaru.
at Adhyaru,
Right.
now those galas are currently given on rent. We moved to the ground floor.
Ground floor, correct.
So we can see Phoenix from our side. Obviously, that time there mustn't have been a lot.
Right.
And you could see
The race course.
the end of Adhyaru, one end of the building from the
Correct,
race course, from the stands.
Nice.
So he had told the person to sort
So
of.
this is for our viewers, the Mahalakshmi race course, and Adhyaru is in the heartland of Parel. So distance-wise, it's not too
No,
much. right?
distance-wise, next to nothing.
Nothing. Correct. Yeah. So just for
Yeah.
reference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carry on, please. Yeah.
So that's it. Yeah. So it's been a lot of good foresight.
No,
And
you haven't completed the story. So what? There was a red
so
flag.
he said that you raise the flag, you keep the flag there, so I can see it from the race course. I don't know whether he was looking through the binoculars or what.
Yeah.
Of course, that time there was lesser pollution, lesser buildings, so I guess you could see a
This was a
little.
great city to live in.
Yeah.
Anyway, was it like? I mean, he was a print master too, and he was very,
Yeah.
very fastidious and meticulous. I'm just curious to know.
No,
What
he.
is the kind of
In
father-son
fact,
relationship?
I think at his time, I would think that with what he had with one machine and all, he did a lot more. Maybe the industry was different then,
Probably.
with 3-4 clients.
Yeah.
With 3-4 clients, he did a lot more than today what we are doing.
That's true.
We may win an award, but I think in quantum of what he was doing, maybe again I'm saying that was
The industry dynamics was different.
the industry dynamics was different. That time even a good single color machine, which we had got in 1983,
Yep.
I guess was a fairly large step. I don't remember that much. That time I was only 13 in 1983. So, but I do remember, and so it was different. In fact, he had got a cutting machine before the printing machine also.
Yep.
Because that time we were doing a lot of labels. So he felt that cutting would be more of an important part,
Yep. What next for Prodon? I mean, this is something we keep discussing.
Yeah,
and
see,
you have a bunch of
no,
crazy
at
ideas.
this stage, I think definitely just consolidation of processes. Okay, they're all getting older, little slower. So unless you're really doing something different in terms of getting a better set of clients or finding a little better niche, you're going to be within that band. As long as you're within that band, at the top of that, that's fine. We're not saying we're not ready to embrace any different technologies, like we use different digital vendors also as and when the need arises.
Sure.
And you sort of use with your knowledge what is best for the process.
Yeah.
So I think that is definitely, the knowledge part is an important factor. You can have everything with you and yet you can't give the client a solution. Or you can have limited stuff with you, have the knowledge, and at the end of the day, the clients want a solution. Whatever it is, you may say, I've got this award, that award. At the end of the day, when their job is on the line and they want something, everything goes out of the window.
So you have to deliver.
You have to deliver. That doesn't change.
And one final question, and I request you not to be humble and genuinely try to answer this. That if, like, one of the things I would really like to see is, I mean, people talk of this tier 2, tier 3, and people have identified 25 or 27, whatever it is, X number of cities where print is growing.
Yeah.
And what advice would you want to give to a print entrepreneur in these cities if they want to be the next Prodon? Because I mean, and here I request you not to be humble.
No, I'm not being humble.
Quality. And,
See,
some standards. So
Ramu,
what are the 3 things
first, if you want to be a boutique, you have to be very high on your knowledge set. You've got to have, your overheads have got to be in control. So there's a lot of things. Now we are not, as I said, I'm a second generation. You can say that, okay, we'll do it at this. We've not got any debt. Everything has been paid for.
Yep.
Okay. So today the dynamics are different. If someone is starting off, it depends what your costs are, how much, there are very many printers you've seen, how many of them have sunk.
Yep.
How many printers, they grow too much, they grow in their 50s, late 50s, and then they don't have that same sort of fire that they had when they were young. Yeah, it's I've seen it firsthand with so many people. Maybe that's the reason I'm a little cautious, and sometimes you may not be good enough, you may not have the skill set, you may be good at being a boutique printer, or doing that much, and you may do that much well. When you grow, you may be doing nothing well. You may not be able to organize your finances, you may just leave everything in a mess. More capacity, doing more of the same things. So you've got to decide. And there are some people who can do a large business at low margins and be extremely, by doing a large turnover, be extremely profitable, and they've got good control over their costs, and that model works for them. It's just what they're made of. That's true.
Yes, always fun to talk to you. And of course, I know our conversations are longer with mainly you talking and me nodding my head. Just one final question. How are you planning to celebrate? Will you be throwing a nice big bash at the Gallop?
No, let me see. First, I'll celebrate with my staff.
Of course.
In fact, one of my guys who helped in that book,
right,
Vikas, he's actually got cancer right now.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So I'll send his wife a message right now. He was instrumental in, that Ritesh, I think, showed that book.
Correct.
Of Nasreen Mamadi.
Yeah.
So a few corners that were not cut, he was cutting them patiently. So every book of the 2000 books, if there was one, they were supposed to be at right angle, then one was a little closer, then he was sitting on the table and cutting it. And that's it. Yeah. And hopefully I'll send out a few more letters to my clients. Soon, not too late. Like I've done in the past.
Yeah, and I'm happy to write a letter of endorsement too. Anyway,
yeah.
Like I said, always fun to have a conversation with you, and we of course wish Vikas the best of health, and salams to you. And
yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ramu. Thank you. Thank you.